All right, 1 second here. All right, welcome on to Pirke Avos, Ethics for Our Fathers, as it's known. Again, want to welcome on Pirke Avos, Ethics for Our Fathers, as it is known. Been a few weeks, been a number of weeks because of all the holidays. So it's good to get back. We are in chapter Mishna 15, and this is going to be part 10, and guaranteed there'll be part 11, part 12, part 13. Quite a bit to speak about this Mishnah. So the Mishnah said, they each said three things. Rabbi Eliezer says, let your fellow's honor be as dear to you as your own, and do not anger easily. So we've spoken quite a bit about your fellow's honor being as dear to you as your own. Whatever, the last few weeks or whatever, a while ago, we were speaking about anger, right? Dealing with anger. So here, what do we say? So we're saying that let's say, that anger is always bad, right? In general, anger is something everyone has to deal with. Sometimes we just get angry because we get angry. That's our nature. We get angry at the slightest thing. Sometimes people do things, we're not prepared, or things, set us off, let's say. So obviously the most important thing is to know, if you want to break it down, what makes a person angry? What makes themselves get angry? Now, there are certain things that if we know what the trigger is, then we know, okay, very good. So I know what the trigger is. So knowing what the trigger is, what's going to get us angry. Now, once a person understands what it is, and it could be a number of things, you can sit down for a few minutes and think, what gets me angry, right? And obviously, one of the things that exasperates anger, causes us to get angry, even when we're not as prepared, right? Let's say, that's you have lack of sleep. Person has lack of sleep, a lot of things go wrong. Right, one of them is the fact that we can get angry, much easier. So first, as we mentioned before, you have to analyze, why do you get angry? What is the trigger that gets you angry? Right? We all have triggers. Most people probably know what they are, or they know what gets them angry. Now, in general, you say, well, I have a right to be angry. Right? Let's say it's true. Let's say, we'll argue the point, right? We'll argue the point and say, okay, maybe it's true. Maybe it's true. You have every right to be angry. Now, the question is, should you be angry? Right? Isn't being angry in general, isn't that a lack of emunah? It's really a lack of belief and faith in God. Why? It comes on the Pirke Avos. Pirke Avos says in duties of heart, Shar B'tachon, we mentioned many times. What does Shar B'tachon say? It's about belief and faith in God. Everything happens for whatever reason. So if that's true, and God's using this person to get to me, right? Just like it's forbidden to hit a dog with the stick. Who does this dog go after? He goes after the stick. Right? Someone causes us damage. Who do we go after? The person caused damage. Now, the person caused damage, we always say they're liable, right? Let's say they're negligent. They're liable. Very good. And even if they're liable, even if we say they're liable, they're going to have to pay in the end. Didn't God use them to get to us? God used them to get to us. So the whole of the law says, very hard to understand, in a certain way. And that is, someone caused you damage, you should go up and give them a hug. You should go up and thank them. They're helping you work on your anger. Now, most people see out the corner of your eye, you're driving down the street, you see someone with their head in the phone, miss the stop sign, boom, go straight into your car. Now, let's say they didn't cause you any damage. You're getting out of the car screaming. You're screaming at the person. You're negligent. You're this, you're that. You're not asking if they're all right. You don't really care. Right? The Pirke Avos says no. The obligation is God is hitting you, using this person to get to you. Why are you getting angry? Why in the world are you getting angry? Now, what is someone going to ask? Someone's going to ask me the $1.5 million question. And the $1.5 million question is, what's the question? Why am I getting angry? Why in the world? Or say better. Question is, you tell me the Pirke Avos, who's he talking to? He's talking the righteous. He's only talking to the righteous. So if he's only talking to the righteous, that doesn't apply to me. Right? He's going to say this doesn't apply to me a number of times in the Pirke Avos. He says, you may think this is only going according to who? This is only going according to the righteous. This is for the righteous, not for me. Not for me. And the Pirke Avos says, not true. This is for everybody. Right? We'll give a more relevant example. So in the book of Leviticus, chapter 19, I'm going to get there one day. I'm going to actually start back up tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Israel time, get back in the scheme of things, back in the normal schedule here, so to speak. Now the holidays are over. So in the book of Leviticus, chapter 19, what does the book of Leviticus say? There are many things. One is you can't take revenge. You're not allowed to take revenge. And you're not allowed to bear a grudge. A Jew is not allowed to bear a grudge on someone else. Not allowed to bear a grudge. Now, I would tell you, for non-Jews, right? Maybe that doesn't apply. That's not universal. That's not necessarily universal. Right? In other words, someone did something, you bear a grudge. You don't like them. You don't want to see them. You don't want to speak to them. Now, I would say it's not so healthy. Psychologists say, why did the person get in your head? Why should they cause you anguish? True. But it's an obligation for non-Jews. I'd say no. I would say it's a moral imperative. It's not a good thing. It's not good for the heart. Not good for your mind. But imagine the Torah says not allowed to take revenge. So what's the example? The example is Reuven needs a lawnmower. His house looks like the back of a jungle. Right? His backyard looks like a jungle. So what does he do? He goes to Shimon. Shimon's got a lawnmower. So Shimon says, nope, not lending it to you. Doesn't give you a reason. He just says, no, I can't lend it to you. So Reuven gets his own lawnmower, borrows from someone else, whatever the case is. So what does he do? So he uses it fine. So in the meantime, Shimon comes to Reuven and says, can I borrow your lawnmower? So Reuven says, what are you talking about? Yeah, you wouldn't lend me your lawnmower, so I'm not lending you mine. That's the Torah prohibition. That's the Torah prohibition, taking revenge. You're going to say, he wouldn't do this, I'm not doing that. Now, let's say he really needed to mow his lawn. His lawn looked really bad. I mean, whatever. It could be any number of things where someone is upset at someone else because they didn't do whatever. Right? Whatever it is. And then that person asks for the same thing. Right? I'll give you a better example. I was once talking to my parents in the States, and I was on the phone, and whatever, it was a payphone. And after a while, someone said, well, you've been on the phone too long, they hang up the phone. Hang up the phone. So why does this person need the phone? What was so important this person needed the phone? So this person, who's he calling up? I was standing right in front of a pizza place. Person called up the owner of the pizza place. Said, hey, we're hungry. Open up the pizza place. That was more important than me talking to my parents. Okay? Right? So I went back to learn, whatever. Call my parents later. Explain what happened. So now imagine if this person came to where I was learning. He comes to me and says, by the way, can I borrow a pen? He could have gone to any money. Right? He comes to me and says, can I borrow a pen? So I could have looked at him. I mean, thank God it never happened. Right? But I could have looked at him and said, what are you, crazy? I'm going to let you borrow my pen? Go borrow someone else's pen. right? Why should I let you borrow my pen, right? I'm not going to let you borrow my pen. Look what you did over here. You hung up the phone on my pen. You have no excuse. Oh, you're on the phone too long. You have no excuse. You could ask, say, listen, I really need the phone. Whatever. Can you can you call the, can you make the call shorter or whatever? Okay, you could have asked. You didn't ask. You sat there and hang up the phone. The person comes and says, can I borrow your pen? Now, if I had a pen to borrow, I wasn't worried he's going to lose it, right? Or whoever the person is, they're going to lose it, or they're going to ruin it, or whatever. I have to give it to them. If I don't need it right now and I don't have any other pen, right? So if I'm not using it, I have to give it to them. Unless I think they're going to ruin it or whatever, right? But you're going to say, why would you give your pen to that person? Why would I give it to that person? What's the answer? Because you got an obligation. He's asking for a pen. You don't have any good reason not to give it. Oh, I do. I got a great reason not to give it. You know what my reason is? This guy hung up the phone. Well, I don't have a good reason. That's a good reason. You have to Torah prohibition of taking revenge. Torah prohibition. Right? So thank God it never happened. I mean, the person hung up the phone to me, thank God never asked me for a favor. Right? But if the person would have, I would have had to oblige if I could. If he wanted a pen, I would have to give it to him. Now, what's someone going to ask over here? Someone's going to say, how's that possible? How is that possible? You're a human being. You're not a Ma'asavakus. You're not an angel. You're not a heavenly angel. That's what God expects? Yes. That is exactly what the Torah expects. Now, there's one form of anger that is permissible. What's that form of anger? The form of anger is when you have to discipline a child. Now, even if you have to discipline a child, as much as possible, first of all, the crime has to fit the punishment. You can't just punish out of anger. Everyone will tell you that. And the second thing is, even if you have to get angry, you have to fake it to the best of your ability because you don't want one tinge of anger. One tinge of anger. Real anger. So you got to fake it really well. Now, here's someone asks, isn't it true? The person gets angry, they forget Torah. It's worse than that. It's even worse than that. If a person gets angry, first of all, the Mishna Pirke Avos says, and we'll see, right? If a person gets angry, you don't speak to them. You don't speak to them until the anger subsides. Right? Pratanero, one of the commentators brings it down. Yeah, you don't speak to them until their anger subsides because they can't speak. They're not in their right minds. They're too angry. Right? So the Gemara says at the beginning of Sanhedrin, if the pit of hell was open right in front of you, you'd still be angry. I hear people screaming, this, that. When a person's angry, they lose themselves. Right? So here it's true. You lose yourself to the point the punishment is you can forget Torah. True? Nobody wants to forget Torah. The whole point is to remember Torah. Right? To keep reviewing it till it's like the back of your hand. 100% true. Right? So any tinge of anger is bad. Right? But when someone is seriously angry, right? When someone is seriously angry, at the end of the day, what do I have to do? I have to be careful. You have to be, first of all, person has to be careful not to speak to that person. True. But when a person gets angry, again, it depends on the level of anger. But let's just say a person gets angry, what happens? You lose yourself. You lose yourself. You don't think. Yeah, it's bad, I would agree. You may forget Torah, that's bad. Yeah, but there are other things going on also. I mean, the Gemara says, even if the pit of hell was open, you'd still be angry. That wouldn't change you. The person could be totally lost. They're lost in themselves. Now, let's say you have a right to be angry. You have a right to be angry. Right? Bring up even what's going on now. I don't really want to speak about it, but, it comes up. Everyday conversation, what's going on here in Israel. I think I mentioned this in one of my Q&As, that even during the Holocaust, after the Holocaust, some survivors had the opportunity to kill and torture, Nazis, right? May they be blotted out wherever they are. May they rot wherever they are. They had an opportunity to take revenge. They could take a revenge on some of them. Now, would anyone sign up for that? In general, look what they did. Murder people, friends, family, right? Imagine a whole person's family's wiped out. You got an opportunity now, take as much revenge as you want. They didn't. It's not a Jewish thing, right? Right? Someone who's a Jew, there are certain characteristics. One of them is the Rahmanim, Baishanim, Gimus, Chasodim. The tremendous compassion for others. They get embarrassed easily. And they do a lot of chesed, a lot of acts of loving kindness. But that's something they wouldn't do. That's not in their nature. Doesn't the person deserve it? The person deserves it. Right? That's what we would say. Imagine, family members of these people killed, last week. Imagine they had an opportunity. They had some of these terrorists they had in custody. They could actually see them. You don't think they'd want to kill them? Not just kill them. Killing would be too easy. Torture. What they did to their kids. What they did to their loved one. But at the end of the day, two wrongs don't make a right. Right? God will take care of them. That we have no issue. But emotion runs very high. Extremely high. People are barbarians. People are animals. Treat them like animals. Not just enough to beat them down. No. There are laws over here. You take care of them when you take care of them. Right? You're not allowed to torture them. That's forbidden. Right? But what's the simple psychological thing over here? The simple thing is, by doing that, that's not going to bring your loved one back. It's going to make you feel really good, but it's not going to bring your loved one back. It's not what it's going to do. So we're not allowed to do that. It would make sense in a certain way. An eye for an eye. Measure for measure. They'll get their measure for measure. We don't have to worry. God will take care of business, I have no doubt. But it's not permitted for us to do that. Because that makes us just as bad as them. Now, a person would say, a person could easily say, but look what they did. Look how horrific it is. Look at all the pictures going on out there. True. No one's going to deny that. Right? But don't we always hear, you're better than that. These people are barbarians. You're not a barbarian. So yeah, if you have to take them down and you have to eliminate them, that's what you do if you have no choice. Torture them, you're not allowed to do. But in a certain way, isn't that the greatest revenge? Greatest revenge is, let me do that. But even though the Torah says an eye for an eye, Torah doesn't mean you're allowed to do that. When the Torah says an eye for an eye, what does it mean? It means damages. You pay damages. What it's like to be without an eye. What's the value of the person? If that happened or this happened or something else happens, damages. Right? One from other places. But the idea is, no, it's not literal. We don't take it literally. I mean, it sounds, in theory, it sounds nice. What this person did, I'm going to do the same thing. You took my eye out, I'll take their eye out. They bruised your leg, you bruised their leg. No. It's not a Jewish concept. It's not the Jewish way. Even if the person deserves it. Even if they deserve it. Doesn't give you the right. Or another right. Doesn't make us better. Right? It's taking revenge. Even, again, would it be justified? For most people, would it be justified? Be justified. Even for Jews, be justified. Totally be justified. They can understand. They could definitely understand. Look what they've been through, what they suffered. But the Torah says it's speaking to Bnei Adam, it's talking to us, talking to humans. And the Torah says no. The Torah says you're above that. You can't do it. You're going to say, wow, the Torah's got ideals you have to live up to. You're darn right, it does. And it's not easy. But this is our obligation. This is our obligation to be a Jew. Right? So anger in general destroys people. Because people don't see past it. People don't see, and it's a lack of emunah. We're going to say it again. The lack of faith and belief in God. This person did this. First of all, if you have proper faith and belief in God, then you know it's coming to you. That person's just a messenger. So if the person's just a messenger, why am I getting upset? God is sending me a message. So you get upset, so a person can complain to the one who sent the message, not the messenger. The messenger, in my language, just a lackey. It's just a lackey. God's using them. Oh, but doesn't have the person have free will? Sure has free will. 100% has got free will. Nonetheless, who says they should do X, Y, and Z? Right? We'll give an example. Torah tells us, going to read in a few weeks, that God says that Abraham says to God, I want to know your, the way you run the world. God says, no, impossible. And God says, just no, because you asked. Your progeny, your offspring are going to be subservient to a nation on their own, and they're going to suffer. But I'm going to judge. I'm going to take them out in a great way, and I'm going to judge that nation. What's the obvious question? What's the obvious question? Why is he going to judge the nation? God knows he's going to do it. God knows he's going to step up to the plate. He knows he's going to do it. So in this case, we know who it was going to be. Who is it? It's the Egyptians. Everybody knows it's the Egyptians. Very good. But don't they have free will? They have free will. Anyone else could have done it. Could have enslaved the Jewish people way back. Who jumped up to it? The Egyptians. Why has God judged them? Right? Further, I didn't say they were going to do it. They came and did it. Why did he judge them so harshly? Because they were beyond what he wanted them to do. He needed someone to enslave the Jewish people. They took it up. Very good, but they went too far. And then God judged them. Now, there's a question also. It says in Parshas Bo, in the book of Exodus, beginning in Parshas Bo, it says God hardened Pharaoh's hearts. Now, if God hardened his heart, he doesn't have free will. If man doesn't have free will, then what? How can God judge them? How can God punish them? He took away their free will. If he took away their free will, you're going to say it's not fair. Totally not fair. God can't judge them. God had a whole plan what he wanted to do. The Rambam, others speak about it. That Pharaoh had an opportunity at the first couple of plagues. God gave him an opportunity. But he was stubborn. He was more than stubborn. Who's this God I have to listen to? He gave him an opportunity to do tshuva, to repent. He didn't take it. So what did God do? He says, you want to be upset at me? You want to go against me? You're the world power. I'm going to bring you to your knees. You and your entire nation. So God used them. But he gave him an opportunity. Not just he took his heart away. He gave him an opportunity. And the opportunity was to repent. Moses went to him and he laughed and this and that. And the whole story. And God made his heart hard. And then by that point, it's too late. So Rabbi says many times, we got to be careful our heart is not hardened. Because if our heart is hardened, then we're just subject to our desires. If a person is subject to their desires, can they fight against it? They can. It's possible. I'm not going to say it's easy. Possible. Because the Gemara says, God created the Yetzer Hara. We have an evil inclination, but God brought about an antidote. What's the antidote? Torah. Torah is the antidote. Very good. But the Gemara goes one step further. It says, even though Torah is the antidote, if God doesn't help you, you can't overcome it. Very comforting. In other words, even me learning Torah, secluded somewhere, and I'm learning like fire, that doesn't help altogether. I need God's help. Learning Torah is not the antidote by itself. You gotta say, wow, scary proposition. Yes. Nonetheless, yeah, a person can do things. Rabbeinu Yonah says in Shari Tshuva, beginning the gate to repentance. Says Rabbeinu Yonah, person does something wrong, you do it a second time, third time, it becomes part of you. Once it becomes part of you, you think it's already a mitzvah, you think it's already permissible, what happens? Much harder to repent, almost impossible to repent. I'm not going to say impossible, right? It's very hard to repent. Why? Because now it's part of your psyche. Once something becomes part of you, it's very hard. Tell someone who smokes, right? Tell someone who smokes. That I can stop at any time. There's a problem. A very simple problem, right? What's in tobacco? Nicotine. Nicotine is what? Is an ingredient there that makes you addicted. It's like your body craves it. So it makes it a lot harder to fight. Oh, that's exactly why years ago tobacco companies got fined up to Gazoo. Because first of all, they knew, the effects, of cigarettes on the body. But it was beyond that. It was well beyond that. They put something in there to make you addicted to it, so it makes it harder to fight, much harder. So any bad character traits that are part of us, again, I'm not going to say impossible, we can overcome. We have to work hard to overcome them. Not impossible. But see, once a person's done something so many times, it's part of you. Now, let's say a person worked on it, we'll use the example of cursing, right? Not a good thing to curse, no question. I'm not talking about cursing using God's name, right? What we call nivul peh, right? Cursing in general. Everybody curses. Most people curse. So imagine you have a sensitivity now. You've been working on it for a while. You heard someone curse. It's like, oh, that's disgusting. I can't believe people do that. I can't believe people say that. Everybody does it. What, you're any different? You're any different 2 weeks ago? You were no different. What made you any different? Nothing. But now you have a sensitivity. So very good. Now you start working on it, and you start working on it more and more and more. So let's say months go by, number of years go by, you don't really curse. Yeah? Very good. Now let's say one day, a lot of things happen at once. A lot of things happen at once. So now, and to boot, what do I have? Person's also tired, right? Lack of sleep. So you got that and a lot of aggravation, right? A lot of tension right now. Something happened. In the best of days, wouldn't really bother you that much. You would have moved on and that's it. Problem is, you get a lot of things going on. You sort of lose it, you snap, you curse. And then all of a sudden you say, wow, look what happened over here. But you worked on it for so long. Doesn't matter. It's still inside of you. It's still part of you. See, this is the problem. Whatever a person sees, whatever they witness goes into the mind, goes into the heart, goes into the soul. So basically images, terrible images, let's say a person saw. And a person can work hard trying to get them out of their system, very good, but they're still there. They don't totally disappear. When do they come up? Maybe they don't come up for 20 years. Evil inclination got a lot of patience. Yeah. So let's say it doesn't come up for 20 years, 10 years, whatever it is. All of a sudden, someone's under pressure, this, that. What do? Back to the old habit. Right? Smoking's a good example. Person hadn't smoked for years and years, a lot of tension, this, that. What's the first thing they do? Pick up a cigarette. You can say, but what happened years before? They beat it. They haven't had this nicotine urge, this, that. Oh, but a lot of things happen all at once. Go back to bad habits. How can you go back to it? You beat it. And the answer is it's still part of your system. It's still in there. Even if it doesn't manifest itself for years, it's there. It's not totally eradicated. You got to work and work and work and work, day in and day out. Get rid of these thoughts, focus more, So what we're going through today, here in Israel, is scary, no question. Today's going to bring, tomorrow's going to bring, who knows? Crazy things. We're living with the Mishna. You need the army, you need the Air Force. It's all true. They look pretty bad in this whole thing. Okay. Right. So the person's working on this, working on that. They're, I don't want to talk about politics. So you got, different people in the opposition, different parties now joining this part of the emergency government. Right. Not going to discuss anything. This is just for the war. This is just for the war. And what's going to happen right after the war and the dust settles? They'll go back in the opposition, start cursing the prime minister. Protests will be back up. Everything will be back to normal, like it was before. It's sad, like one of my kids said, today over Shabbos. It's sad the whole, the entire country is mobilizing behind the idea, right? The Israel Defense Force. They're mobilizing, helping them, sending care back, like all these things. Everybody's united. What's the problem? Took a war to do it. Took people to get butchered and slaughtered to do it. Wouldn't it have been better if we were united for good things? Not for bad things? Not for horrific things? Yeah, but okay. So I can look at it and say, well, look at what the Jewish people are made of. Right? A lot of people posted different things, a lot of chesed, a lot of acts of loving kindness going on, very good. And a lot of people posted, Ein Ka'amcha Yisrael. Nobody liked the Jewish people. Nobody. Just unbelievable things going on. But it's very sad you had everybody, leftists, rightists, this, that, right? Everybody together because of what happened. It's a mind-boggling thing, right? It's a mind-boggling thing over here, right? So, here in Israel, all right, this is a good example. Right? I get these questions in a second, right? This is a good example of anger. Israelis are hot-blooded. Sephardic Israelis, in general, more hot-blooded, in general. Some people snap very quickly. A lot of pressure, a lot of different pressures here. You got, one of the most pending pressures, making a living here. Right? The joke, how do you make $2 million in Israel? You bring $1 million with you. Right? Not an easy place to live financially. True? Funny, living in the middle of a war zone, price of property still going up. Doesn't make any logical sense. Right? In many ways. Any case, but you have other problems. Right? What's the other problem? You got the Arabs. Right? Got to deal with the Arabs. Constant problem. It's always been a problem. It'll be a problem until the Messiah comes, and the dust settles. Always be a problem. Yeah. So sometimes the problem's better. Sometimes it's worse. Right? But as we always say, it's perspective. It's total perspective. So people, banding together, it's a beautiful thing to see. It is, you got leftists, rightists, everyone in between, and everyone's banding together. Everyone's banding together. It's a tremendous thing to see, but for what? Because you're in the middle of a war. You had a lot of people just got slaughtered, totally slaughtered. Yeah, quote unquote, seemingly for no reason, except they just hate Jews. That's who they are. Right? The whole world finally going to see. Finally seeing who these barbarians are. Okay. Takes that to unite the Jewish people. Well, then you got religious Jews against religious Jews. What the Gemara says, the Gemara in Yuma says at the beginning, why is it that the second temple was destroyed? Second temple was destroyed because of Sinas China, unlawful hatred. Lashon Hara, yeah. What's unlawful hatred? Let's just flush this out for a second. It means you don't like someone for no reason. You don't have a good reason. King Solomon says in Ecclesiastes, we just read over Sukkot, it's time to love, time to hate. But as we always say, you don't hate the person, you hate the act. Right? I heard a great rabbi say, someone asked, we should hate what these barbarians did. We should hate who these barbarians are. He said, you can hate what they did. You can hate what they did. We don't hate people. We hate their actions. Yeah. So, the people say, no, I hate them. Yeah, whatever. So what is unlawful hatred? What is unlawful hatred? So I'll give an example. I heard a great rabbi once say. Unlawful hatred is like this. A person will say, someone less religious than you, I can hang out with them. They'll say, I'm not going to learn anything bad from them and this and that. I can hang out with them. But what about someone who's more religious? Someone who's more religious, now they're offended. Now they say, what? You don't think I'm Jewish? You don't think I'm religious? You want to think that the rabbinic supervision I hold by food isn't so good, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, their antenna goes up. Antenna goes up 100 miles or 200 kilometers, 150 kilometers. Why? Why? Because now they feel inferior. Now they what? You don't think I'm good enough? What I do doesn't, it's not good enough. They're religious Jews. Right? For argument's sake, that's what we're going to say. Right? We'll make it easy. They're religious Jews. Very good. And even if they're religious Jews, they come with an attitude. Oh, you don't think I'm Jewish enough? I didn't say anything. You want to make such conclusions? Okay, that's sinas chinam. Someone who's less religious than me, I'm not losing any, it's okay. So what if they're less religious? Even if they are less religious. Bottom line is, right? Bottom line is, even they're less religious, to say, fine. Try and draw them close. Other things, I can hang out with them. Someone who's more religious, they're fanatic. They've lost their minds. They're being brainwashed, thank God, right? They're being brainwashed. Okay. They don't have anything to do with them. They're religious Jews. They also keep Shabbos. They also keep kashrus. They also keep festivals. Right? But they look at the other person they're too far. They've gone too far. That's sinas chinam. That's unlawful hatred. You have it, unfortunately, in Orthodox groups. I'm not even talking about Reform conservative. That's a whole different issue. Right? It's a totally different issue because they don't keep Torah mitzvahs. Right? Again, you can't hate them. You can hate what they do. You can certainly hate what they do. Hate what they say. Can't hate the person. Okay. But that's a whole different thing. They're not keeping Torah mitzvahs. They're in a different class. They're in a totally different class. But if you're talking about people who keep Torah mitzvahs, and there's still infighting between people who keep Torah mitzvahs because, just flush this out a little bit, everyone wants to be right. We hold like this, they should hold like that. Different things. My Rebbe's bigger than your Rebbe. They don't have a lot of things that they agree on in certain things. So that's a problem. That's infighting we can't have. We certainly can't have. But we forget. We forget very easily. See, after all was said and done, with this war, hopefully it should end quickly. I think it's going to take a while, right? But nonetheless, God should protect all the soldiers out there, protecting us. But when all said, before this war started, people have short memories. You had people in the Air Force. I mean, these Air Force pilots are experts. The government spent tens of thousands of dollars training them in order to be effective, in war. Right? Spend tens of thousands of dollars training them. they had all these leftist protests, which I don't really want to go into. I don't want to get into politics, right? But you had all these leftist protests, against what they were going to do in the, with the Supreme Court and all that. And you had people say, if they go too far, this and that, we're not serving. Not going to serve. You don't serve this country, be on its knees. You had army people that they call us up, we're not going. That's how far it went. That's how far this craziness went. Oh, there was a war. Pilots are there. Don't worry. Pilots are there. People being called up are there. You forget everything. Well, what happened? What happened a few months ago, or months ago? All these protests. People say, "Hey, they were right to protest." Okay, whatever. Right? Most people don't understand the situation. So, and someone that was there said, "Yeah, we went to the protest." I go, "Do you even know what the protesting about?" It's democracy. I said, that wasn't my question. I said, do you have any idea what the protesting against? I've had a conversation with a number of people. They don't know their nose from the elbow. I'm being generous. Yeah, but free right to protest. Do you know what they're protesting about? If this would happen in America, they would have shut down the Supreme Court. They would have shut them down, sticking their nose, uprooting laws of the Knesset like no tomorrow. I mean, it's insane. But imagine Supreme, the Congress passed laws, whatever it is. They had a majority, both, the houses, whatever, it passed these laws. Then the Supreme Court says, no, we don't like it. Knock it off. Knock this off, knock that off. They don't have a right to do that. Stick their nose in where it doesn't, if it's something, stick their nose in that they have to, very good. They went up to the Supreme Court, okay. They don't even judge so many cases a year. That doesn't matter. But imagine, they had 1,000 cases. 1,000. That's what it is here in Israel. Like 1,000 cases a year, they stuck their nose in jurisdiction where they had no place being. Not like they went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court came and said it's illegal. You can't do this. Gives you a right. Nobody asked your opinion. Right? It gets better. Who's on the Supreme Court? When they bring other people on the Supreme Court, they're the ones that do it. They're the ones that appoint. Isn't that called cronyism? This is what happened in the States. They dismember the Supreme Court. Most people know, oh, really? That's what's going on? Explain this. I go, that's what's going on. This would never happen. Because there are checks and balances. Well, we don't have a constitution. It's a problem. That is a problem. But okay, there are checks and balances. So you don't have any checks and balances. Supreme Court says whatever they want about things they don't even know anything about. Like when it comes to religion. Stick their nose in. What do they know about religion? They ought to put up a mezuzah. They even know what a mezuzah is. These idiots, they don't know anything. They know zero. So, so they stick their nose in where it doesn't belong. That's insane. This would never, in a Western country, it's never happened. Never. There's checks and balances. But every time they don't like something, that Congress would do, or here the Knesset would do, they just knock it off. Who are they? Who in the world they think they are? That's what's going on. So everyone agrees. Everyone agrees you got knocked down their power somewhat. Question is how far? No one disagrees with that. I don't even know why I'm speaking about it. No one disagrees with that. They're afraid. Who's the one making the laws? Who are the ones making the laws? Oh, who's in power? The right. And and who brought them the power? The right wing religious parties. What are they afraid of? Essentially, they're afraid of religion. They're afraid of what they're going to do. They're going to make it into theocracy. They're going to make it into such a thing where, women are going to have to shave their heads. Going to close every street. No one go to the beach on Shabbos. That's like the furthest thing from the truth. I mean, how I would be. I'm not talking about shaving women's heads, but shutting down streets and public transportation on Shabbos. Yeah, that would be a good thing. In a lot of places, which doesn't exist. They don't have the power to do that. They're not going to do that. They are not going to do that. But they're afraid. Right? So this fear, these fear mongers, that's what we're going to call them. So that, you got the media with them and the leftists, with the media. they're bringing up this whole frenzy. But they agree, essentially, that the Supreme Court needs to, there are a lot of things need to change here. They agree, right? The leftists agree. The question is how far it goes. So yeah, maybe it was too bold to do, maybe this, okay. Without getting into the politics of it, they're afraid of the religious rights. That's what they're afraid of. So they're protesting, so they're protesting, oh, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that, doing the other. That's what they're afraid of. Right? So yeah, so maybe we should have done it in a different way. Okay, we can sit there and second guess. That's not the point. That's not the point. My point is, you got people opening their big mouths about things they don't know anything about. One of my personal pet peeves, as most people know. If you know about it, very good. If you don't know about it, keep your mouth shut. They all know it's democracy. A conversation months ago. Somebody who hates the right in America, hates the right here, and all this, and we're the ones causing the problem, and blah, blah, blah. And these protests, and what the government wants to do. I go, do you really know what the government wants to do? You really research it? You really know what's going on? So I laid, a few things out. That was it. Silence. I still don't like it. Okay, you don't like it. Yeah. But it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. So months ago, you had these pilots saying, we're not serving. We're not going to work. We're not going to defend Israel. Think about what people are saying. This is insane. This is insane. Like, fighters and fighting. No, we're not serving. We don't care what happens. We're not serving. This, bunch of leftists. Where, what one thing have to do with another? What one thing have to, what are they really afraid of? But guess what happened? All these protests, this and that, war broke out, everyone's serving. Everybody's together. Everyone's forgetting about this for now. For now. After the dust settles, we're going to see what happens. Back to protest, who knows what. But it's very sad. That's the only point here. Is that it's very sad. All this has to happen. And you have all this togetherness, which is a very good point. Is that you have all this togetherness and everyone, working hard for what? Because there's a war. Horrific thing, no question. Maybe that's part of the plan. Maybe God had to bring all this upon us in order that what? That we stand together, that we're united. Now, I'm not saying it's the only reason, but you see an unbelievable thing. I'm just pointing out, it's very sad it comes to that. Yeah, somebody asks, let's deal with the first question first. Can a big ego lead to anger? I think even a little ego can lead to anger. Because once a person is full of themselves a little bit, what ends up happening? See, someone who's angry, or somebody who is conceited, right, has ego, or ego as we would say here. They have what do you call it? Gaiva, that's what it's called, which is the base, according to Orthodox Tzaddikim and others, right? The ways of the righteous, it's the base of all bad character traits. So, according to the Rambam, you wouldn't find a middle path for that. That you stay away from altogether, even a little bit of ego, right? But the difference between ego and self-esteem, I don't know, maybe we'll deal with it a little bit, right? But this case, ego, you think you're better than someone else based on my status, how much money I make, who I'm related to, my genealogy, my pedigree, right? My absolute pedigree. Okay. Very good. I mean, not saying so good, but at the end of the day, what happened? You look down upon someone else. You absolutely look down on someone else. Looking down on someone else for no reason is bad, right? That's no question. Now, if someone has an ego, we all have an ego to a certain extent, even though I would say this generation in general, is very low self-esteem. I think that's true, right? I definitely think that's true, right? And that is that someone's got an ego. Can that lead them to get angry at other people? Yeah. They think like, what are you doing? You know who I am? You know what I represent? I'll give an example. Right? Usually when I speak about ego, I always give this example. Right? A Reconstructionist rabbi, whatever that is, was at a funeral. Someone came up to him innocently, very innocently. Said, "Oh, Rabbi, I see you don't have your book here. Is it here? If you want, you can borrow mine." Right? Wasn't doing it to show him up, nothing. And this person looked at him and he said, "Sonny," he said, "you think I need your book?" He goes, "I write books. I write books." That's ego. That's ego. Now, how I wasn't there. I just heard about the story. Yeah. So was it real anger? Was it? That's ego. Yeah, I need your book. You know who I am. You know what I've done. You know what people think of me. I don't need your book. Chutzpah. Chutzpah to no end. Yeah. Now, in that case, did ego lead to anger? Sure. Person took it as an affront. Think I need your book? Wasn't just said in a sarcastic way. He was angry. Somewhat, he was angry. See, when a person, what's the opposite of ego? Opposite of ego is humility. The way you get to getting away from having a big ego or ego at all is being humble. Right? Real humility. It's got to be true humility. But some people try and show how humble they are, which means they're not humble. Right? But humility is something, we have to realize we're an infinitesimally small speck of cosmic dust. Grew up in a town, in a city, in a state, in a country, in a continent, on a planet. I mean, we get very small here. So even though we're very small in a certain way, we think we run the world. We think we're in charge. We just finished reading Parshas Bereishis, first Torah portion, right in the book of Genesis. When is man created last? Man's created last. What would I think? I would think of man's created last. They are the pinnacle of creation. Very good. They are the pinnacle. They are the greatest of creation. Okay. Yeah, but what if they only act on their humanistic soul, their animalistic soul, let's say better. So they're no better than animals. So then it's a negative thing. See, animals were created first. You're no different than just an average, over intelligent animal. Look how you act. Look how you live. Like what my Rebbe would say, people live like animals, they die like animals. Right? Because they have nothing anchoring them. They have no morality, whatever their heart tells them. Right? Whatever they do, they just want to do whatever they want. So who are they subservient to? Themselves. Not subservient to God, that's for sure. They're subservient to themselves. That's what they are. That's what they represent. So that being true, what do I have? So you can have people that do what they want, when they want. It's not like good right to answer to. Yeah, you can answer to the authorities, can't do things illegally, okay. But where's that level of morality? It changes. That's called moral relativism. I'm okay, you're okay. You do what you do, I'll do what I do. The two never shall mix. Yeah, but morality can't be relative. First of all, it goes against one of the 13 principles of the Rambam. Maimonides, God is absolute, first principle. God doesn't change. God is not fickle. Yeah. So if that's true, morality never changes. Either certain things forbidden, certain things not forbidden, are permissible. Yeah, but it depends. Depends on what it is. So there has to be absolute morality. Can't change. If God changes, that means he's not in control. It changes. It's fickle. Torah doesn't say it's fickle. Torah says clear. He says what's permissible, what's forbidden, what he likes, what he doesn't like. That's not being fickle. That's, things don't change. Right? According to the Torah, that's what it is. They see, the last number of years, things have changed unbelievably when it comes to morality. Taking things that were abhorrent, disgusting, this, that, now it's like a whole agenda. Tell a 5-year-old, how do you know? 5-year-old boy, how do you know you really want to be a boy? Maybe you really want to be a girl, maybe. You got a whole agenda trying to convince kids what they're not. And it's, can't even make this stuff up. It's insane. Totally insane. Yeah, that's not called brainwash. What we do is called brainwash. Thank God. Yeah, what they do isn't brainwash. No, it's giving them the choice. You're giving 6, 7, 8-year-olds a choice about something they don't know anything about. No matter what they see on TV. They don't know anything about it. Too young. They're too young. Are you giving them a choice? No, you're just throwing it out there. You're giving them the ability to make a choice. That's not true. They are too young to make choices of that significance. You want to tell me, you tell a teenager one thing. It's one thing. Even though I don't think they have the right knowledge either. So what happens? Society goes crazy. That's what's happened. People don't, certainly people on the left, progressives, whatever you want to call them, they don't see a problem. They see more of a problem with what we do and the morality we hold. They don't see it's a problem. They don't see it's an agenda. They're giving people the opportunity. The opportunity, when they're too young to make any decisions. So now there goes, parents shouldn't decide for their kid, let the kid decide. Well, what does an 8-year-old know? What does a teenager know? In general. Someone underage, really underage, that's fair? Throwing them all this propaganda, that's fair? Yeah, it's crazy. Because a lot of these people, studies have shown, a lot of these people just wish they were normal. They wish they were normal. They wish they didn't have to go through this. Because, no matter what you say, anyone says it's not the norm. No matter, as much as the progressives want to say this can be normal. Normal way of life. It's not the norm. Forget it. We're Bible thumpers who believe God gave the Torah and all that. Okay. But that is not the norm. Sorry to say. It's not, it's incredulous to believe you're going to give that type of information to someone who, they don't know what to do with the information. You're giving them ideas they would never have thought about in a billion years at that age. Don't tell me they're older, whatever, one thing. That age? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, they have an agenda, yeah. They have an agenda. So again, this is what happens, in the end of days. Morality goes out the window, totally out the window. Is this any different than Sodom? No. Could be even worse in certain ways. Any different in Greece? We're living in Greek culture, right? Even though we're not close to Hanukkah yet, or getting, whatever, next few months. We call, what the Greeks did and what they brought to the world, because we're living in that type of world of literature and this and all kinds of things. We're living in that type of world. And what do the rabbis call it? Darkness. Darkness. Right? Some people say, wow, greatest intellectuality and Renaissance and all this, and sports and entertainment and blah, blah, blah. That's darkness. What do you mean? They're bringing the greatest light. Look what they did, art. What they did, roads and this and that. Look what they brought to the world. Okay, they brought certain things to the world. Very good. I have to get caught up in it. A lot of Jews were lost to it. Right? In the 20th century, they were lost to it. All these isms, socialism, communism, democracy. Majority of Jews, besides the pogroms and the Holocaust and all that, majority of Jews lost their souls to that. To education, quote unquote. To all this, totally flushed themselves down the toilet. Spiritual. So we don't look at it as a good thing. Okay, a person may need to learn certain things. I understand. For livelihood and all that. It's not the end to end all things. But a person's got to be very careful, because that knowledge can be dangerous. Take you down a slippery slope. But the 1900s, vast majority of Jews got caught up in what we call the Haskalah, what we call the Enlightenment. Except for the Sephardic people, they didn't get caught up in the places they lived. Ashkenazim got destroyed. Napoleon himself, one of the first things he did, right, is he got the Jews out of the ghetto. It was the worst thing he could have done. And what did the Jews do? Well, one of the first things they did, they intermarried. Want to be like everybody else. Destroyed them. There's no coincidence in Germany itself. Right, before the war, intermarriage was at 80%. 80%. Some places today it's even higher than that. Average on 60, 65% more. 80%. That's the structure of Judaism. That's where Judaism ends. Because even someone said to marry, the statistic is 80% of those kids don't get any Jewish education. I'm not saying bad education. I'm saying none. Zero. They're gone. So it's not about a physical Holocaust today. What Hitler, may then be brought out, may rot wherever he is. Yeah, he killed the body, can't kill the soul. So we're doing that to ourselves. You got 13.5 million Jews don't know Aleph Beit. They don't know Kriya Shema. They don't know anything. They know zero. And who's doing it? Anyone put a gun to their head to do it? No. We've done a very good job ourselves. Very good job. The Orthodox community growing by leaps and bounds. True. Very, very true. That's the only thing that's growing. Everything else is dying or dead. They just haven't told anybody yet. They're dead. They're essentially dead. So people will say, oh, my synagogue, you got 1,000 families, 2,000 families. I mean, a lot of these are dropping rapidly. So I said to someone, well, that's very good. There's only one problem. I said, yeah, what's that? I said, how many people intermarried like you? Half? 60%? And let's say it's a lot of men married to non-Jewish women, or the other way, it doesn't matter. So I said, in one generation, 60, 70% of them are going to get knocked out spiritually. So how many have left? 30%. So knock out 70%, right? Knock out 70%, so you don't have 2,000 families, you have 600 left, right? Give or take. And those 600, how strong are they? Not very, because they're not really keeping Torah mitzvahs. They're not really keeping Torah mitzvahs. What's going to happen? They'll disappear. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. But I've told people, listen, either you look like me, you do what we do, or you disappear. Right? That's it. But people want to be really Jewish and really this. Okay, but you can't pass down a feeling. Try to explain this to someone says, yeah, the kid has a tree and December 25th and all this and all that, and but they're so Jewish. they can't understand where they went wrong. I said, I think I understand why. Is it really? So I said, yeah. I said, because you're passing down something without Torah, without mitzvahs. It's like you're not giving them the meat and potatoes. You just gave them a feeling. And a feeling you can't pass down. Person like that means like, wow, you're probably right. Not another piece of pizza. Like that was it. Gone. Like, a friend of mine went to university with, asked me if I thought he could like educate kids in the reform movement and this and that. I said, you don't have any tools. You have Torah behind you. Why are you gonna tell them to marry Jewish? You put on tefillin every day, let's say. You want your kid to. So your kid says, Dad, very good. You like chocolate, I like vanilla. You're gonna try and convince your kid to like chocolate? Good luck. Or about peppermint stick? I would never taste that. Forget it. Right? It's a lost cause. Some you might say, but it's basically a lost cause. Right? That's what it is. Right? So ego over here, it can lead to a lot of bad things. Can it lead to anger? Oh yeah. Even a little bit of ego. Because the person thinks they're God's gift to the world, where, we got to realize, in this war, I think it's shown more than anything else. In recent history, you got to realize you're not in control. We are not in control. We may think we're in control, but we're not in control. Right? So certainly a big ego can lead to anger, yes. I'm going to go further into even a little ego. Right? Because the person thinks they're better than someone else. Why do they think they're better? Again, genealogy, who their family is. Right? It could be many things. Right? It could be many, many different things. Many, many different things. So a little bit of ego, a lot of ego, certainly, can lead to anger. Because essentially you think you're better. You think you're better than someone else based on my good looks. Where I went to university. What I've done in my life. How much money I have. All these things can lead a person to think they're better than someone else. And if someone says something or whatever, like, who are you? Who are you? People get upset because, you think a professional athlete. Yeah, they work very hard. I'm not going to say not. They got a lot of talent, blah, blah, blah. And you see a lot of times they're very snippy, fragile egos. Someone says something, comments like, you want to go out here and play? You think you're better? Right? They're very snippy when it comes, I understand reporters, sometimes ask tough questions and this and that. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear criticism. Well, no one likes to hear criticism. But here they've been pampered their whole lives, been told how great they are, this, that. They don't rise to the occasion. They fail, they're this, they're that. So what happens? They get snippy. But what's that based on? I mean, that can be, that could be real anger. Yeah, based on they don't like what you said against them. Look what they do. Look who they are. Yeah, very good. Look who they are. And what do I care just because they can shoot a basketball or hit a baseball, throw a football? What's the difference? That makes them better than me? Yeah, it makes them a better athlete. Okay, so. And what about their morals or non-morals, let's say? So what if they have a lot of money? You think I care what they have to say about politics? You got some people saying it's still flat earth. Like, are you serious? Just because they have money? Well, who cares? Someone's a famous actor or actress or whatever. I'm going to care what they have to say about what's going on here. Why do I care? They don't even know the alphabet. I'm going to take them seriously? I'm not going to take them seriously. But people don't want to hear criticism either. Nobody likes to hear criticism of someone who's got an ego. Yeah. You criticize them, they're gonna be very upset. I get it. But I'm saying That's with a big ego. I'm saying with a little ego. With a little ego, that happens. So just on that, spiritual coaching spoke a few weeks back about this. About the difference between having an ego and having self-esteem. Right? Just in short, person needs self-esteem. Person needs to hear good things about themselves. I'm not saying they should have an ego because of it. But if a person does good things, they have to remember where it comes from. Where does it come from? God help them. They have to remember it, to be humble. But at the same time, person accomplished something. You say, great, you accomplished this. Very good. Are you accomplishing half of what you're supposed to, or a third of what you're supposed to, or a tenth of what you're supposed to? No. What you accomplished is significant. Okay, keep it in perspective. Person has a certain level of knowledge, let's say. Spiritual knowledge. Okay. Person can say, well, I probably have more spiritual knowledge in Judaism than 95% of world Jewry. Now, let's say it's true. Let's say I'll be generous here. Let's say it's true. Okay. So even if it's true, what happens? What happens is who you're comparing yourself to. You're living in a world of Sodom, so you're 95% morally better in general than people live in Sodom. Okay? That's not really saying much. Because you're comparing yourself to the dregs of society, which is everybody. Most, I'm saying people, more or less, more doesn't matter. Right? Morality goes out the window, which leads to another question. And that is people say, oh, these, secular person, they don't keep Torah mitzvahs, but they're very nice people. Right? So what do we care in general if they're nice or not? Maybe they don't cheat on the taxes, they don't cheat on their spouse. Okay, let's say. Let's say they were the nicest person. Now, let's say I'm playing God. I like to play God sometimes. I put on my funny George Burns glasses, my funny mustache, very good. Now, I look down there and say, yeah, it's a nice person. But how do they treat me? How do they look at me? They treat me with respect? No. Do they keep my Torah, my mitzvahs? No. They give me lip service if that? No. They're an atheist, they're this, they're angry, they're whatever they want to say. I'm the one in charge. That's how you treat me. You tell me they never learned, they never had the opportunity to learn. You're right. There's different levels here. Okay, so at the end of the day, couldn't I say I've had enough patience? I've given you enough opportunities. I've tried to show. I tried to show you different things. You didn't want to listen. What do you want from me? Right now, I don't have any patience left. I'm giving you so many opportunities. Save you from this, save you from that, other things. You don't thank me. You don't give me anything. Why should I treat you properly? Why should I punish you? Why shouldn't I punish you severely? Yeah. So again, we don't know how the world works. We don't know, how everything's balanced. But we do believe everything's measure for measure. Sometimes I understand it more, sometimes less. Probably not at all. But at the end of the day, God's the one calling the shots. Doesn't he know what you've been through in life? Sure. But what does he want? He just wants to torture you? No. Everything we have in this world, what do? We go through cycles. Sometimes we have it easier, sometimes we have it harder, maybe sometimes it's impossible. They're trials. Everybody goes through them. Some have it worse than this, some have it better than that. They're all trials. And the whole point, the Ramchal says in Derech Hashem, the whole point is what? The whole point is, I have these trials to make me better. I have these trials, in essence, to improve myself. This is what the trials are for. We might get lost in this world. We might get distracted. Okay. But there are certain things you got to do to make it to the next one. You have to hit a certain level. What that level is, we don't know. We shouldn't rest on our laurels. We have no idea. But we have to do the right thing. We have to go on the right path. You tell me, made a great world of distraction. Fine. I'm telling you to get distracted. I told you how to not get distracted, but you didn't listen. You didn't want. Your inclination overtook. I could come up with a million things. Okay. But at the end of the day, we have to answer for ourselves. What we see in this world, we don't understand. And a person can say, well, this happened. This happened. If God is really good, why, they'll say, suffering shouldn't happen. I'm a nice person. What does that have to do with being nice? Right? There can be a lot of very quote unquote nice people out there, but they spit in God's face every single day. Whether they know it, they don't know it, doesn't matter. Right? That's the bottom line. That is the bottom line here. So nice has nothing to do with Torah mitzvahs. Person can be so nice and liable for death penalty 10 times over. More. Right? Now we're going to come some slack because they never learned. Okay. Whatever it is. Whatever it is. The whole world's in flux. Been in flux for a long time. King Solomon says, we brought before, Proverbs. King Solomon says, you don't know what today's going to bring, you know what tomorrow's going to bring. You have no idea. Got to be prepared. What's my weapon today? Emunah. Belief and faith in God. God knows what he's doing. He does what he does. I have to do what I have to do. But people are going to complain and say, I didn't deserve this. Look what happened over here. Again, a lot of things we don't understand. This was, what's going on now is a horrific divine decree. No question. No question. I mentioned in my Q&A, nobody's innocent. Nobody is innocent. Do we understand what they might have done to deserve it? No. Could I think of many things people could have done? Yeah, could. Right? We're not going to do that. That's not even the point. Someone says, well, how can they do this festival? And they have this Buddha standing there. That wasn't real idolatry. We weren't bowing to it. Right? It's not real idolatry. They had it there. I don't think it's a good thing they had it there. These people were out to have a good time. You think they were there being idolaters? No. It was a whole big Buddhist thing? No. They wanted to have fun. And the fun ended up in a nightmare. A nightmare. Which cost a lot of lives. Horrific. But it doesn't stop there. Right? Meaning when people die, which is what people don't really understand, we're all going to die. Right? Everybody knows that. First of all, we're going to live, King David says, 70 years. Get strength 80 years. Anything over that's a bonus. We're all going to die. Some will die in a better way. Some will die not in a better way. Some people will suffer, less suffer, whatever. When you see something like this, he's going to say, people are going to say, where's the justice? Where's God over here? Legitimate question. Not this is an age-old question. But you know what? At the end of the day, people don't want to hear this. But at the end of the day, I would agree. Like someone said, and I don't know if I'm going to really speak about it more, next week, in a Q&A, like how could people go to this festival? All this stuff is forbidden. You're right. Are these people religious Jews? No, not at all. All I have to do is see the pictures of how some people were dressed and this and that. They weren't religious Jews. It was a horrific decree. Horrific decree. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, it happened. And it was on Shabbos. How could they allow it on Shabbos? You think they care about Shabbos? Think any of these people care about Shabbos? That were there? And everything that was going on? I don't really think they cared. Either they cared with Simchas Torah, they probably Simchas Torah doesn't even ring a bell. Oh, be happy with the Torah? Ha ha ha. Next. They'll say we're a bunch of atheists, we don't believe, and they just want to do what they want to do, bottom line. It's what most people do. They want to do what they want to do, and that's it, leave me alone. Yeah. God can do what he does, let me do what I do. Well, it doesn't work that way. Does not work that way. So this was severe decree. Can I come up with 100 reasons why it probably happened? I could. Right? But someone's going to ask me. But the whole thing happened on Shabbos. Okay. And there's music and there was it. You're right, it's all forbidden. That's not a question. It's not a question. How could they do it? Because they don't believe in anything. They don't believe in Torah mitzvahs. I can't imagine. What were they doing there? Yeah. That's not what they believe in. That's not what they want. They want to do whatever they want. Okay. I can sit there and speak about it. It's forbidden. And they had a big Buddha standing there. Or sitting there, or who knows what. Was that idolatry? I don't think it was idolatry. That wasn't the whole point, the whole thing. You tell me the whole big Buddhist thing, okay, that's idolatry. Why they put him up there? I don't know. It's like a decoration. They use it like a decoration. You think anyone bowed to it, believing this Buddha thing can do anything? The short little fat guy, because we can make fun of idolatry. Hey, look at this fat soul over here. Ooh. Play some music, dance. Is that idolatry? No. I'm not going to say it's a good thing, but it's not idolatry. Definitely not idolatry. If there were people bowing down to it, yeah, that's a different issue. That's a different issue. Right? So the question is, how could they do it? So my answer is, what's the question? What in the world is the question? No question here. It goes against Torah, goes against everything God stands for. That's what they did. That is what they did. Okay? And that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to have fun. Yeah, music blaring, all this stuff. Okay? Totally goes against what God wants. It's on Shabbos, it's on Simchas Torah. Yeah. God came in and said, okay, I'm going to make a huge thing here. But again, I'm not convinced that was the only thing here that led to this. This is bad. I agree. I'm not going to say this is the only thing. We don't know. But the fact that they made it on Shabbos and this and that, they made a choice. They cared about God. They cared about religion. They cared about anything. They cared about having fun, I should say. They cared about having fun. That's what they wanted. Yeah, it wasn't so fun in the end, was it? It's very sad. It's horrific, no question. Absolutely no question. So that being said, why did they do it on Shabbos? Why do you think they did it on Shabbos? You know why they did it on Shabbos? That's what they wanted to do. Doesn't matter. Shabbos, Thursday, Sunday. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. That many other things brought up, God's anger. That's what happened. That was the end result. Why now? Why like this? I don't know. If I knew that, I wouldn't be, I'd be world famous. Wouldn't be wasting my time doing this. Be world famous. We don't know. But why they did it on Shabbos? Doesn't matter to them. Shabbos is not important to them. The music, everything else that's forbidden. They don't care. It's about having fun. That's all it's about. Just having to be on Shabbos. Okay. They're going to try and minimize Shabbos desecration? No. They don't have any interest in Shabbos. What do you want? Then what's the question? Not really a question. Right? The answer is they want to do what they want to do, and that's it. Right? And finished. So someone here points out as well that anger 100% anger 100% is what? Is destroys your connection with God, with Hashem. Yeah. So the person is angry, they don't think about anything. They just think about the anger. They just think about whatever they're angry about. Yeah, the problem is, as well, is that what does anger do? What essentially does anger do? Anger, a person thinks about something, let's say somebody else did. It can be a terrible thing. Yeah. Terrible thing that someone did against you. So a person's angry. They'll say, I didn't deserve it. Why'd they do it? Lost money, lost this, whatever it may be. You don't see God's trying to get to you, give you a message and all that. You say, woe to me, why this happened? And a person keeps the anger inside. It festers inside. And then what happens? The more you think about it, the more now, not only don't you like what the person did, so now you have a grudge against them. Now again, we said having a grudge against someone. The Torah says, certainly for a Jew, Torah says it's a Torah prohibition. It's total prohibition. Yeah. So I'd say for a non-Jew, it's not a good thing. I would think it's not a good thing. Doesn't necessarily mean it would be forbidden, per se. But certainly for a Jew, it's forbidden. So what does anger lead to here? Anger over here is going to lead to a person to bear a grudge. Now, any psychologist out there will tell you bearing a grudge, having a grudge against someone for what they might have done, is definitely, it's definitely bad, right? No question. But what does that lead to? What can that lead to? Person bears a grudge. Now, when a person bears a grudge, so all psychologists, what I meant, right? All psychologists will tell you that you have this festering inside of you. It's not good. Totally unhealthy. You got to get it, they'll tell you have to get it out or whatever, but it's totally unhealthy. Totally unhealthy. Now, you can say, I didn't deserve it. I don't know why they said it, or why they did what they did. You feel really bad. Feel really, really bad. And at the end of the day, you hate this person, you despise this person. Now, let's say you're justified. Let's say. We'll make it very easy. Is that healthy for a person? Psychologically speaking, it's not healthy. It's for sure not healthy. We're going to say, look what the person said, look what they did. You're right. You're right. So there are people out there who will bear a grudge. Even if they're justified. Even if 100% they're justified. They'll bear this grudge forever. Shorter time, longer time, whatever. They won't get it out of their system. Now, obviously, it's unhealthy. From a Torah perspective, it's forbidden. So, even if it's a parent, a sibling, child, let's say, they do something really bad. So the question is, where's my emunah? You got to deal with it in a certain way, however you're going to deal with it. True. But we always say, isn't it true? Where does it come from? These trials we may bring on ourselves, or God's doing it to strengthen us in different ways. Squeezing us like the bottom of toothpaste, trying to squeeze us to get that dormant character trait out. Okay? But the other person's a stick, remember. So therefore, if I look at the other person and say, wow, what they said is really offensive. You're right. It's offensive. If I understand God is using them to get to me, maybe the whole test is if you're going to get angry. Maybe that's part of the test, no matter what they say. Isn't it true? We've said many times, you got to put this into action. And that is, why can't you look at someone and say, wow, this person said this. It hurts. True. Maybe it does. But doesn't this person have a 25 IQ? Isn't this person really insane? Spiritually speaking, they're insane. So we always say, and again, you got to put this into practice, and that is that if a person's really insane, someone's got a 25 IQ and they slobber on me, or they push me out of the way, or they do other things, yeah, it's annoying. I would agree. It's annoying. Okay. Now what? Am I going to take what they say seriously? I'm going to say, okay, very funny. Bink. Going to knock it out. What people say. Parents said something. Siblings said something. Yeah. So it hurts more. Okay. Yeah. If your sibling or parent was mentally challenged and they said things or whatever, let's even say better. Person had a parent and all kinds of nasty things, but they have dementia. They don't even know what they're saying. Or they have Alzheimer's. Is it hurtful? It's hurtful to see, yes. No one wants to see someone like that deteriorate. They don't even know who they are. They don't even know who you are, barely. But they say offensive things. Okay. So this is harder. Because we want to see loved one like that. But again, someone said something or did something. Why can't I look at them in that way? Why they have dementia? Or that they're mentally challenged? What's the simple answer? Look what they said. Look how they acted. Look what they did in the past. So what? Let's say it's all true. Let's say. And they were nasty and this and, all kinds of things. Throughout the years. You say, but it's a lot of pain. Okay. I'm going to tell you how the pain goes away. In general. In one sense, you have to have your own ego. Say, I'm not as bad as what this person's saying. Or I didn't do anything wrong. Or let's say they're anti-Semites. Even better. They're anti-Semites. That's what they think. They're against Judaism. A person can be a Jew. They called, someone called me. I was worse than the Taliban. I've been called a lot of things. Yeah, I've never been called worse than the Taliban. That's pretty extreme. Yeah. So whatever, I use it as an example. So someone will ask, so what'd you say? So I answered, I said, you really think I'm worse than the Taliban? You know what the Taliban do? You know who they are, what they represent? I'm giving good values to my kids, and you think we're worse than the Taliban? Really? I wasn't offended by it. I know where this person's coming from. Okay. Are they even close to know what that means? No. It's like, an insane thing to say. Think about it. But regardless, person can say that's really hurtful. You're trying to be the best Jew you can be, and you're giving your kids good values, you send them to good school, etc. And someone just knocks you down. Someone just takes a sledgehammer and goes, wham! You're not good. You're like the Taliban and worse. So you're going to say that's disgusting. That's offensive. I didn't even go down that path. I didn't even flinch. Like I said, I understand what the person's getting at. I know where they're coming from. Okay. Say even a little bit of you wasn't offended, we're going to offend a fourth person that is insane. I listen to actually what I say. I don't always do that. If I did, I would tell my wife. I did that, I look different. It's true. Right? But I thought, what am I going to get upset about? There's someone to talk to. Why am I talking to this person anyway? It's a good question. But there's nobody to talk to. There's nobody around. Nobody home up here. Spiritually. So I'm going to look at this person and say, I'm not going to say it. But what am I thinking in the front of my mind? You're insane. You can't read Hebrew. This is what you think based on nothing. Based on whatever the media tells you. You don't have your own intelligence for that. To distinguish. You hate Torah mitzvahs in general. You hate fanatics. Okay, so that's who you are. That's what you represent. Okay. You want to take it out on me? Say I'm this and I'm that? Thank God I got a head on my shoulder. I got a nice enough ego. I'm not gonna worry about it. But that's really below the bound, right? It's way below the bound. Way below the bound. I'm not gonna answer. Right? I'm not gonna answer back. I could easily. Say, come on. You know what I've done, I am, you know what I've tried to change, this, that. How many people I've helped, and but I'm gonna, based on my own ego, look what I've done, look at this. How dare you say that? You know who I am? I want to write books. Not that I write books. I want to write books. Seriously? That's the best you come up with? Person like that, you move on. Yeah, a person will say, that's highly offensive. Okay. I'm not turning the other cheek. I'm not letting it get under my skin. I'm using it for the good. I'm going to use that to teach people how to deal with this. I don't care who says it. I don't care if the parent who says it. You know, you're going to get in an argument, nothing to argue about. That's what they think. I didn't call certain things, call the person on certain things, not on that, but on other things I mentioned, you know, about all the demonstrations there and different things, you know. Or I'll give you an example. Oh, somebody, what do you want? This person was gay, that's their genes. Then their genes, can't change it. I was like, we know. I got an opportunity to get one thing in. I said, science has never proven that. And there are psychologists can actually help these type of people. It's in their genes. Person screamed at me. It's in their genes. Yeah. Has science proven it? That was my answer. Has science proven it? They haven't proven it. That was it. End of discussion. Science hasn't proven it. Knocked them straight back in their tracks. Okay. Did they care? No, they wanted something else. Fine. So, like, you can take these things to heart, really to heart, and these things can destroy people. True. It can have a totally negative effect. I agree. Or you can see it for what it is, right? Or you can see it for what it is. Someone asks over here, yeah, what if you fake your anger or discipline children, but for others seems no anger at all? So who cares? Who cares if it looks like anger or doesn't? For you, that you're showing the child what they're doing is wrong. So you're showing them in a way, for you, that's anger. For the child, that's anger, let's say. Let's say the child understands you're angry. Quote unquote, you're angry. And if other people don't think it's anger, so what? You know. So the question really behind it is, if you're going to discipline, you have to show the child, you have to really show anger. They say, for me, that's anger. Maybe they'll tell you it's not anger enough. Okay, maybe. Who says they're right? Right? I understand it's a theoretical question, but who says they're right? Let's say the child got the message. Let's say the child got the message with that level of quote unquote anger. And someone says, you weren't angry enough. But they got the message. Does that matter? Does that really matter? What the other person says, you weren't angry enough. But if the child got the message, it shouldn't matter, right? That's what I would say. Someone here mentions a thin line between having self-esteem and being proud. Yeah. There is a serious problem today. I've mentioned many times before. There's a serious problem. People lack self-esteem. Because they just put down too many times. They lack self-esteem. Okay? I don't necessarily think it's a problem. I mean, there are people that are very proud and are arrogant. True. I've definitely seen people like that. When I say to the majority, I don't think so. I think there are some humble people out there, or at least they're not arrogant, so much. At the end of the day, patting yourself on the back, yeah, you do have to be careful. That I would agree. You do have to be careful in the sense that you want to have, self-esteem. You want to feel good about yourself. We said before, way back, the Mishna says, why are you going to be so proud? You learned a lot of Torah. That's what you were created to do. Right? So why are you going to be arrogant over here? You were created to do it. So let's say you learned a lot of Torah. Let's say, like this 18-year-old tells me, many years ago, I'm only better 95% of world Jewry. So let's say it's true. Based on what the person learned. Let's say. But who are you comparing to? You're comparing yourself to 13.5 million Jews that don't know the alphabet? Why don't you compare it to your peers in yeshiva? Why don't you compare it to people that know more than you? Yeah. Let's say the 1 million people, and let's say there are, 850,000 people of those 1 million people that know a heck of a lot more than you and are better in Judaism than you. Learn Musar more than you and all that. So you're comparing to. You want to say you're better than 800, So good. You're better than 13.5 million people that don't know anything. But there are 850,992 people that know much more than you. So can't rest on your laurels. Just because you learn something, maybe, you got to learn it again, the third time, fourth time. It's got to be like the back of your hand. There are different levels here. Different levels. You can feel good to a certain extent what you've done, but you got to think in the back of your mind, listen, I haven't done it, Chosel says, others say it also, that, in this world, we accomplish very little what we should in our service to God. Not a third, not a fourth, maybe a tenth if we're lucky. So why are we resting on our laurels? Why am I going to have an ego over here? That's pretty bad. That I would agree is pretty bad. Right? How can a person have an ego? You want to compare yourself to, to other people that don't know anything? Okay. And what are people that do know something? They can wipe the floor with you what you don't know. Easily. So what about that? Oh, I was just comparing myself to people who don't know anything. Very good. So we need humility. Because the person, I was telling someone over Sukkot, an old friend of mine. I told him what I'm learning, and because that's what I was learning. So I was telling him, he said, "All right, so you're almost finished. Almost finished the entire Talmud." Yeah. I said, "Yeah." Then I go back and start actually learning. Yeah, it takes a long time, to go through it properly, and then gotta go back. So just because you're learning, you can say, "Wow, it's a big accomplishment." Yeah, it is. And where I'm holding, I got a long way to grow in many ways. Many ways. You can't be satisfied. How can you be satisfied? You should never be satisfied with who we are and what we do. We always have room to grow. I'm not going to say you put yourself down, right? There are many accomplishments that we can be happy about, right? I don't think there's any question, right? But at the same time, you got to remember everything in context, so to speak. Someone asks, are visualization important? Try to avoid image in the news. Yeah. I would say like this. I mentioned earlier, maybe you missed it. I mentioned earlier that, there are a lot of people caught up, not just what's going on now, just in general. People are news junkies, some people more, some people less. Everything is now live streamed. Like, you don't miss anything. Like in this war, you're not missing anything. You see when the strikes are, when, God forbid, all these other things. These images, what we see in general, we're not just talking about the war, but in general, bad images that a person sees, the soul records it. Just like we're recording now, the soul absolutely records it. It's part of your psyche now. It's something that image never goes away. Now, you could say, I don't think about it. I haven't thought about it for many years, blah, blah, blah. But it's never disappears, right? Sorry, it never disappears. It's always there. So we got to be careful in vigilance in general about what we see. These things have can have a positive effect and a negative effect. The negative effect is you see horrible images. You see horrible images, they stick with you. They stick with you. Ask anyone when they were younger. They saw a horror movie, saw Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, whatever one of these, or these movies with Chucky the doll, whatever it was, right? So, in their minds, they still have these images, even though it's all fake, right? It's all make-believe. All this stuff's not real, right? I hate to burst anyone's bubbles, but all these movies are all fake. Okay. So if that's true, I'm getting so upset. Oh, I can't believe tortured them like this. And I said, no, they never did. It's fake. It's all fake. We get caught up in the whole thing. But I've seen people write. So, people ask, what movie when you were a kid traumatized you. And they'll say this one or that one or the other one. That image is still there. Now, you might not have thought about it for 20 years, might not have thought about it for 10 years, whatever it is. That image is still there. Why is it still there? How can it still be there? Because, your mind saw it. Sorry, you saw it, and it got recorded. It got recorded on your soul. Doesn't matter when you thought about it, how many times you thought about it over the last 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is. You can say, I haven't thought about it in so long. But now that image comes up. Why did it come up? Oh, good question. We said before, maybe person's under stress, maybe this, maybe that. Thought about something, and then that triggered this memory, that memory, and another memory. Okay, but it's there. It's definitely there. So, I would say, what we're seeing now, and we've seen over the years, different places also, horrific images. People say, well, in recent time, you haven't seen things worse than that. Could be. I'm not comparing it. But, at the end of the day, these images, not only are they bad, that's one thing, right? But what do? They just make you feel bad, make you feel helpless. Yeah, make you feel angry, so to speak. For a lot of people here living in Israel, I'll tell you, they're in shock. They're just, for what happened, they're just in shock. I don't think a lot of it has necessarily registered. Even with the images they see, it's just the reaction is like you're in shock. Now, the more you see, the more you focus on it, obviously, the more depressing it is. Right? Does God in this situation want you to be depressed? No. He doesn't want you to be depressed. Right? He wants you to work on your emunah. He wants you to realize that he's the one running the world. It's not the IDF. Right? That I think, and I've seen other great rabbis, much greater than me, said the same thing. One of the things my rabbi put in, he said over the week was, he said, this broke the arrogance of the Israeli army. Totally broke their arrogance. As great as they are in the Middle East and all this and all that, he said, what is God showing over here? He's breaking their arrogance. Great Israeli army. They had one of these terrorists. They said, we thought we'd do a little bit of damage like this. We never thought in a million years we'd do what we did. Right? It's one of the terrorists who got caught said. Never would have thought in a million years we would have done this. We would have gone this far. Yeah. They're not a standing army. I mean, Hezbollah is a lot worse than them. What their capabilities are, God forbid. So, they're I think much more trained than these people are. God forbid on both sides, they're bad. I mean, it's no question. But at the end of the day, what do I have over here? You have the army and heads are going to roll. I mentioned this before. I'll mention it again. When the dust settles, no pun intended, heads are going to roll in the army. Right? Someone's going to lose their job. I don't think there's any question about it, or a lot of people, because this is the breach you can't have. This is the breach you cannot have. Okay, they're terrorist attack, they blow up buses, they do other things, okay. But for so long, they entered all these places and had their way with the, killing and all this, and the horrific things that they did. They were unmet. There was nobody there. Right? How do you have such a breach? That's the question everyone's asking, but you're not going to get the answer now. Too focused on doing what they need to do, but that's the obvious question, and everyone's stuck in the answer because they say we're not dealing with that now. We got to shore up the what do you call it, the borders, and all that. Then that's okay. It's going to happen eventually. Within the year, it's going to happen, or 6 months, or a few months, whatever it's going to be. But that's one of the things my Rebbe here said. Their morale should be broken. Should be totally broken over here. Now they got to fix it. They absolutely have to, okay, it's killed 1,500 terrorists. They secured the borders. What's going to be next, we'll see. But, doing all these things now to go on the offensive and, whatever, bring back morale. Their morale had to be crushed crushed to know that this happened. I have to go in and pick up the pieces, no pun intended, and to see the carnage that was left. Those images last for a lifetime. Yeah. So what happened here? There was a tremendous breach according to everybody. I mean, everyone sees that. I don't think that's pretty obvious, right? Something bad went down. But Rabbi said, one of the things you see from this is that their ego, as great and many things that they've done and blah blah blah, their ego, the ego of the army, the great Israeli army, relying on past accomplishments. Somebody was sleeping over here. A lot of people maybe have sleeping over here. But he said that's one of the things God wanted to show, right? Broke them. Broke their spirit. Same thing. What happened by 9/11? Where they hit? World Trade Center. What does World Trade Center represent? Business financial capital of America. That's what it represents, right? And that's what they hit. They wanted to, one of the things they wanted to show that, we're going to hit you right in the heart. Right in the heart. That's what they wanted to hit. They wanted to hit the heart of the financial industry. To show you think you're in charge, you think it's all about money, this and that. And bam! Brought these two towers down. Incomprehensible. Incomprehensible. Yeah, someone could do such a thing. They're able to pull it off. You gotta give credit where it's due. And they actually pulled something like that off. You're putting that for a long time, okay? But, it hit there for a reason. Nothing happens for no reason. But that knocked out the ego of finance. You hit the main financial buildings in America and demolish them, that's a pretty big sign here. Yeah. So you have all these terrorists come in, hit all these places. You can't do anything to stop them, or it took a while finally to recover or whatever. Yeah, that's a big blow. Huge blow. Huge blow to the army. Head's gonna roll, no question about it. It's only a question of when. So now they're on the offensive and whatever, doing what they need to do. Hopefully there's no more bloodshed and all that. But yeah, someone, or a lot of people were caught sleeping here. A lot of people. Yeah, they'll have an inquiry afterwards. It's like, they did after the 6-day war. It's also an inquiry. What happened? How could they, not have seen what was going to be? How were they caught sleeping? Yeah, so there's inquiry. There'll be an inquiry here also. It'll be nasty looking and whatever, but okay. Right? So what do you see? God chopped them down. God took their big ego and, no pun intended, slaughtered it. Totally slaughtered it. Yeah, so now they're all gung-ho and they're there, okay. So, you still have more than 1,400 people that died, mostly civilian. They didn't stop it. They didn't come close to stop it. They just came in and did whatever they want. It's, again, the images are horrific, no question. But that destroyed their ego. Totally destroyed their ego. So yes, the short answer is, or the long answer is, visualization. What we see has a tremendous effect, good and bad. When you see negative things, it has a negative effect on the soul. It pierces the soul, and it's always there. That doesn't disappear. It's a question when it manifests itself. That's a different issue. It could, a person sees his images, maybe you try and forget about it, work hard for it, forget about it. 6 months later, a year later, 2 years later, let's say you've been working, then something happens and these images come up again. Someone says something, you saw something, reference something, yeah, but it's there. It's there. So the more negative things we see, the worse it is. It's a lot worse. Right? So we got to be, that's why we always say you got to be careful what you see. A person's got the greatest filters. You got these pop-ups, an image comes in, it's already there. Got to be careful. Got to be very, very careful. It has an effect on the soul. There's no question. People say, I got to be stronger than, no, it's not a question of being strong or not. People make serious mistakes. Serious mistakes. you see a woman dressed this way, and you can't control yourself, there's a problem. That's the greatest urge God gave. Greatest urge he gave everybody. Now, can it be? Can it be that we have to control it? True. You're gonna say, what? I'm not affected by it? What, are you dead? Unless you're a eunuch, right? So that's not going to affect you, right? Because you don't have that capability. Very good, right? Keep this clean, right? Very good. But if he gave you the strongest image, strongest urge, right? That's a problem. You got to control it. If someone says you walk down the street, you look, that's your problem, right? You should be affected. What do you mean you should be affected? Well, otherwise, you're not human, right? You got to be careful what you see and whatever. You have to be. There's no question. In summertime, you should be. Guys shouldn't go outside, for goodness sakes, the way people dress, right? Without getting into all that. But if that's the greatest urge God gave, someone says, if you have thought problems, you got a problem. What are you talking about? What do you mean you have problems? It's normal, right? This is a guy talking. It's normal. I can say it's not normal, right? If someone once told me, he said, "Yeah, you walk on a mixed beach and you get excited. That's your problem. And if you didn't, then you got to go. You go see a shrink. That means you're not human, or you got other issues, right? Or you got other issues. That's the norm. You got to control it. You got to harness it. You got to use it the right way. Very good. Yeah. So what we see does affect, for sure. Whether it's immoral images or whether it's other things, right? Or it's these horrific images, right? I don't think there's any question. I don't think there's any question, right? So yes, the question is, are they important? They are extremely important. You got to be very careful what we see, because that does have effect. It can have an effect on you now. It can have an effect on you later, even when you least expect it. So I tell people, listen, you want to follow the news, don't be a news junkie. Follow it every second, whatever. I mean, you're going to see certain things that you just won't be able to see. And that's what the whole world is seeing. So in a certain way, I don't think it's necessarily so bad, because, Israel's got a lot of people behind them right now, so they know who these animals are. Once they start killing innocent civilians, quote unquote, the images aren't going to matter anymore. You're killing civilians, but as long as the images are still fresh, very good. They get a lot of support right now, so they can do what they want. But down the line, maybe not that way, right? But these images are horrific. People, get all excited, see them demolishing buildings, and they're not ending the war. People make the mistake. That's good. They are getting rid of installations and military places and this and that. Bottom line is, the next number of days or whatever, however it's going to be decided, they have to go in the ground. There's no question. They're going to have to go in the ground, snuff these people out. That's what they're going to have to do. If you really want to stop it, that's what you have to do. The whole place is a booby trap. They're going to have human shields. What do? You walk in a house, terrorists in there, and you got, old women, young kids. What do you do? These are horrific things. They're going to do it. There's no question, because that's what they do. That's what they do. So how do you kill the terrorists without killing, trying to be humanistic? You can't put your life in danger. You're going to kill everybody. They're hiding behind the grandmother. You got to try and kill him. What are you going to do? What if the grandmother gets injured or killed? This is war. They use them as human shields. What are you supposed to do? What in the world are you supposed to do? It's a no-win situation. But that's the only thing you can do. You got to snuff every single one of them out. They got tunnels and this and that. And God forbid, be a major bloodbath. Major bloodbath. You're going to lose a lot of people. A lot of soldiers, God forbid. But how do you stop them? There's no easy solution. If you tell me they get rid of their weapons and this and that without doing that, good. I don't think it's going to happen. They haven't done it. In years they haven't done it. They've been happy with ceasefires. They're not going to be happy with ceasefire over here. Every person that was involved in this or more, they're marked men. Okay, but what price? What price are they willing to pay? This is going to look like Vietnam 10 times worse. And I should be very wrong. I should be very wrong. It shouldn't be. I don't see how it can be otherwise. That whole place, you don't think it's booby traps? It's all what's that place is booby trap. Oh, and they're walking. It's suicide. It's a suicide mission, but it's got to be done. Essentially, it's got to be done. With a lot of people, but I don't think there's any other way. See, see what happens over time. But yeah, what we see as an effect can have a tremendously negative effect. You got to be careful. So I would tell people, you want to follow the news, follow it sparingly, because images come up. It'll have a tremendously negative effect. The images people will see for the rest of their lives to be terrorized. You got videos killing children. You got videos of burning people alive. I mean, they're horrific. No one should watch them. It has a tremendously negative effect. Not to mention it breaks a person. You see how many times I have to see how people are barbaric and they're savages. Well, what does that do for my soul? What does it do for me? It doesn't make me a better person. You're gonna say, well, it strengthens me to know these people barbarians. Yeah, you're okay, but it's gonna have much more negative effect. That's what I would say. On that. In general, I would agree, right? You want to have this image that Israel is a strong country. I can sit here till tomorrow, telling you all kinds of mess ups that the Israeli army's had over the years. That they've admitted. Yeah. They might be kind of strong and look, they stopped infiltrations, they stopped other terrorist attacks, different things. But you know what? What does God show over time? There are things they can't stop. There are things they just can't stop, and there's no way to stop it. Doesn't matter how great their intelligence is. Look at all the war, all the firepower they have. Did it stop these people? No. Didn't stop it. They got outsmarted, whatever. They didn't have the same protection. Yeah. So you can have in your mind this image of a strong Israel. You got to remember one thing, one very fundamental fact, and that is God's the one in charge. It's not the army. God is the one in charge. It could be 10 times worse. 10 times worse. Why? Because all the, my Rebbe said, Chaim Brisker said, 200 years ago, 250 years ago, that Chaim Brisker said, why does this non-Jew over here not walk over the street and kill me? He could. What's stopping him from not just hurting me, killing me? There are two answers, right? Main answer is because God stops him. That's the main answer. The other answer is he's lazy. He just doesn't do it. But what's stopping these people from killing Jews? Nothing, except for the fact that God runs the world. So here in Israel, miracle after miracle after miracle happen because God stops them. God, you hear all kinds of things, weeks after the fact. Oh, we stopped this, we stopped that. They don't put it in the press straight away. They tell you all the things they stopped afterwards. Miraculous. No, it's the power of the army. No. And God can show you very quickly. If the Arabs wanted to, I mentioned this last week, the Arabs wanted to, you send, thousands of people that are legal to be in the country. When they're legal to be in the country, go on buses, start trying to stab people, this, that. And they had that a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago. And then it stopped. Why did it stop? So the army say, we did this, we did that. We arrested a lot of people, blah, 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 blah. You know why it stopped? Because God stopped it. But I'm telling you, there's no way to stop it. There's no possible way to stop it. In general. I hope no Arabs here are getting ideas. It'd be very easy for them to put this country on their knees. The army's fighting now on 3 fronts right now. They got up north, got down south, and they were Syria. I mean, Syria's not a major player over here, but who knows? They got Russians, got stuff there, who knows what. They got to defend themselves there also. Okay. Then what do you do with the Israeli Arabs? They're trying to get the Israeli Arabs involved. The Israeli Arabs are illegal to be here. They could rile them up and start doing all kinds of things and mixed towns and all kinds of things that happened before. It's not an easy situation in general, without anything going on. But the fact that God stops it all is a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. It's no question. It's no question. So these, and it's not even a flare-up. This is like, it's a major thing, but you have flare-ups here, there for whatever, why? They say, oh, you did this, we're going to do this, or whatever, right? So you have these flare-ups that happen. God showed you, you're not in control. We're so not in control, it's not even funny. Because there's no possible way to stop this in general. And there's no way. You don't have army people on every single bus. I mean, you can't. There are just certain things you just can't do. The personnel to do it. So we are relying on God's grace, and God's mercy. And most of the time, things are quiet, relatively speaking. You have things that happen. I mean, not to this extent. Right? But again, why do you have it? Because God shows. He said, listen, I'm in control here, not you. Not you. It could be a lot worse, not dealing necessarily who the enemy is. It's if we have the divine protection or not. Right? That's what it's all about. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm gonna stop here. Tomorrow we'll do the book of Leviticus chapter 17, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock Israel time. It's good. Definitely be back. So anyone has any questions, you find me on Facebook, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, or orthodoxconversion.com. Beyond Orthodox Conversion to Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on the Torah portion of the week, ethics of our fathers, Q&As, controversial issues, or you can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIM COFFMAN@gmail.com, whichever good.